Everybody, it's Jerry back with the Juicy Fuego channel. So today we're going to talk about something really special, Dolce & Gabbana Pour Homme. I have 4 versions of this fragrance and I also have Intenso. I've been giving it some wears and I'm here to tell you what my thoughts are on each different formulation. Now what I do want to tell you is a little bit about the fragrance before I start. So it came out in 1994. All right, and it did look like this. This is one of the vintage bottles. And it does smell a little bit stronger than the other ones, and it does smell a little bit stronger off paper after a dry down as well. It's a very lovely scent. And the predominant notes are, in the original version, are lavender, lemon, pepper, tobacco, bergamot, and clary sage. Now, into the dry down and into the mid as well, you get this very lovely spiciness. There's a slight amount of cinnamon in, but not so much that it's going to be very harsh on your skin. But the sandalwood kind of plays with the tonka and the white pepper, and it just gives this nice creaminess about it with a slightly green tint. It's so complex and lovely and blended so well. To perfection, this is blended. It is amazing. So what's really significant about this is there are a lot of florals in the original, okay? In the top, we have neroli. In the mid, we have rose, geranium, and jasmine. And then in the dry down, iris. Also in the dry down, sandalwood, of course. And then tonka bean. And a nice barbershop-y coumarin. Musk. And then, of course, amber. So it's very lovely, complex scent, and I'm very happy with it. It kind of gives you a nice vintage barbershop-y vibe, but yet different. And it's still modern enough that you can wear it today. Strongly encourage you, if you can get your hands on a vintage bottle, it will not upset you in the least if you spend a little extra on this. It will not, I don't think. If you're really into some very unique scents and fragrances and stuff like that. But now let's talk about the newer versions. Okay, so this one came out in 1994, but there was another reformulation with this specific bottle. The difference that you're going to have is you're going, instead of having a 6-digit batch code down here like what I have, and you can't really see that on the camera, my batch code is 503804, which is a 6 digits, which means this one is 2005 bottle. And I'm okay with that. So after 1999 into 2000s and on, they reformulated it. It's not the same thing as the original. So if you can get your hands on a 5-digit batch code of the original, then you have it. The only thing that it might have that this one doesn't have is some of those top notes might be a little bit more gone in the older ones. So I am currently on the lookout specifically for a 5-digit 1999-1998 bottle. I think I'd be very happy with that. It'd be very nostalgic to have a 1994 bottle, but I am completely fine with a 99 bottle. I think that would be great to have a bottle from 1999 with a 5-digit batch code. Then I could compare that. I'm searching. When I do finally get that bottle, I will come back and I will compare the first batch with the second batch. I have the second batch right here. So the comparison is comparing the 3 other versions from other countries, and this is from Italy. And one of the things that's also significant about it as far as the batch code is that this is opaque. You can't see through it. All right, and see the style. The later editions have a different style of cap on it. And then, of course, the Italy versions have stickers. All right, so in the original version, you're going to have a strong lavender. That lemon's going to pop out, the pepper, and then you're going to have this nice tobacco note. The notes that stick out are lavender, lemon, the pepper, the tobacco, bergamot, and clary sage. And then it's nice and creamy with that sandalwood and that tonka bean, also dancing with a little bit of the spices and the green and the florals, okay? and it's slightly powdery, and it's just blended to perfection. This is a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. The second one that came is the German, and as you can see, the cap is similar, except this one's translucent, so you can see through it slightly. You can see it a little bit. All right, and then they have the embossed logo. Now, all the subsequent ones will also have an embossed logo and look very similar to this right here. The German one will have a 4-digit batch code. Probably can't see that. Mine is 2129, and it is from 2000 and I want to say it's from 2012, but I might actually be a little bit later now, but I'm pretty convinced it's 2012. This batch, and that is this. It is 2012. I do recall. That is the year that they reformulated it to my knowledge, and they brought it back. And when they brought it back, a lot of the people were complaining about, oh, it's not like the original and stuff like that. So I did test this, and I'm very happy with the longevity of this one. I got a full workday out of this and then some. So this lasted more than 8 hours on my skin. Now, is it bouncing off your skin crazy? No, it's not a loud scent. But I was getting wafts towards the end of my 8-hour shift. So it's a pretty good for longevity. The original is as well. It has a good lasting power as well. But they're not loud fragrances. Now, what's really cool about this is it does the dry down a little bit differently. So you have that quintessential cedar, but then neroli plays a little bit more of a role in this, so you have a little bit more of a soapy vibe. So you still have the tobacco note, but the way it blends and everything is just not as expertly done as it is with the vintage. So lavender is going to be a main player, citrus is going to be a main player, and it's more a little bit more on the synthetic side. You still have the tobacco, but the tobacco doesn't seem as nicely pronounced as it was in the vintage. But it's still there. It's still nice. It's still a good one. Then you also have sage and neroli as well. So this one goes a little bit more in a soapy vibe realm, and it does also have a little bit of orange with that bergamot and citrus, but you can barely tell it in this particular one. That's the German model. And it does seem that the citruses do kind of play a little bit more of a role, and it goes a little bit more neroli heavy than the next one that we're going to talk about, which is from the UK. So the company that bought this one out, and it's a little bit different, and this got 4-digit ones too. This is from, it's 6067. This is from 2016. And so this one, like from the rip, I'm smelling it, and when you spray it, and I do have I want to spray it again. There's something very unique about the UK version. So a lot of people don't like the UK version, but there is a cult following. And the reason why is, for whatever reason, I don't know if they toned down certain things and they amped up certain things, but the orange note kind of plays off the neroli a little bit differently, and the neroli is a little bit downplayed a little bit more. It's still there, but it just seems like the orange jumps ahead. So if you would look at Fragrantica, orange is like down there with cedar as one of the last noticeable in the fragrance. But if you search for that orange, you'll see that it plays off with the other notes, and the orange is very noticeable in the top. So you have this nice creamy orange peel that's dancing with the, oh, you know, I'm smelling the tonka bean now too. And it kind of, okay, so it's not the same thing as Chanel L'Homme Extreme, but you kind of get a similar vibe on that top note. So I can definitely see why people have this following of the UK version, all right? Now, when I wore the UK version, it was the only time that I ever got a negative comment, and that was that I smelled like a baby's butt that just had diaper replaced, and that is to refer to the amped up florals in the scent, and the amped up florals is primarily going to be a little bit of the neroli starts popping out later in the wearing. So around hour 4 to 5, that neroli starts popping out quite a bit with that lavender, and yes, with the clary sage, and maybe some of the other notes that are popping out of the UK version. You smell like a powdered butt. So a little bit of comedy there, but it is what it is. I've gotten positive from all the other wearings that I've had as far as compliments go. The last one is the French one, and what's really cool about the French one is it seems like the tobacco is there and it's closest to the original vintage version out of the other two. So I think that it might need a little more heat than the original one to actually thrive, but it's still touted as probably the best. Now, as far as the strongest one out of the three that came subsequently after the vintage formulation, I would say the German one is probably the strongest. That is definitely going to give you a full work day. The French one is also going to give you a full work day, but then it's going to retreat down to a skin scent. So same thing with the English version, the UK version. It's also going to retreat to a skin scent. The only thing difference is with the English version, you're going to have a little bit more of the soapy floral vibe coming out, and not so much tobacco in that dry down. And then in the French one, you're going to have a little bit of the tobacco, and it's going to like hark back, and you can kind of think Versace Dreamer a little bit. And I also kind of played with myself a little bit about thinking about maybe if you did spray some Versace Dreamer down, maybe 1 or 2 sprays, because that's got a lot of longevity too, and then you sprayed this over top, that maybe that it would smell closer to the original, and maybe that would be a good combination. But I haven't tested it out yet, so we're not going to talk about that right now. But what's really cool is they came out with another version, and this is also made in France, and this is my 2019 bottle. My French bottle was 2017, and this is Intenso. Love this thing. It goes a little bit in the dark side. So the predominant note on this is tobacco. So tobacco overtakes lavender in this version. This is a true flanker to Dolce & Gabbana Pour Homme. The tobacco takes over the lavender. We have a hay note, and the hay I like the hay note. It smells really good. There's some water notes in there as well, and then it goes into the greens, that goes into basil, so it kind of steps away from sage a little bit and does something a little bit different. You also, in your florals, you're going to have marigold, and you're still going to have the geranium of the original. So the reason why people say that this mimics the original is because it's a little bit more complex and it has some different nuances to it, but it harkens back. Now, it's also got labdanum, all right, and amber, and these are some of the notes that the original had. It also has a note of bran that you kind of smell in the mid a little bit, but it's pretty subtle. And it's got one of my more favorite notes in the dry down, and that is cypress. So it does the same thing. It's not exactly the same thing as the original, but it's a little bit darker when it kind of concentrates on that tobacco note. And it gets that cypress in there as well, and I really like the direction it goes. It also has a maple accord, so I'm not too familiar with maple, but to my knowledge, maple is just a woody mossy fragrance note, and it's only in Intenso from what I can tell. So this is a very unique scent in its own, and I love it just because of the creativity. Now, what I don't like about it is it doesn't really jump off the skin much. So it's really fleeting. It retreats really quickly, and then it stays on the skin. So it's something that you got to spray frequently if you want to enjoy it. But as an after shower scent, if you want to go a little bit darker, instead of using Nautica or something like that out of the shower just to get that little fresh and pick me up, if you want to go a little bit darker and go with a tobacco scent, this could be it. I mean, that's probably what I'm going to use it for, because there is still a soapy vibe with this beauty as well. I wished they I want them to reformulate this and just make it pop a little bit more, make it dance off the skin, because it's such a lovely scent. I think they did a really good job with it. It's not performing the way I would like it to. So, final verdict. which is the best one. Hands down, the vintage model is the best version, hands down. And this is the second formulation, the one I have. When I get a 5-digit formulation, I'm definitely going to get back on here and do another video for you guys. But for now, this is the best version. It just has this nice creaminess about it. There's just so many good things about this particular fragrance that I love. And it stops projecting at around 5 hours or so, and it leaves a little bit of a scent trail and just kind of retreats after that, but you're still getting personal wafts of it at 8 hours at the end of a workday. So the longevity is there. It's good. So the German one, I would say is my second favorite. Reason being is it does have a little bit more longevity in my mind, and it's pretty close, okay? The UK version, unless you are in love with collecting fragrances like me, I would say maybe not get this one. Because there's other fragrances that do that orange better than this one, because this isn't actually trying to concentrate on the orange. I just think it just happened haphazardly with this particular model, or this particular formulation. Obviously, Chanel or Homme Sport Extreme does it better. I don't like this one as much. This is my least favorite of the 4. And however, it obviously has better performance than Intenso. So Intenso is definitely lacking, but I like Intenso as a fragrance better than the UK one. And I'm not talking about, Intenso is not in this. I'm going to rank them again. The French one is probably the second best formulation. If you get your hands on this one, this is going to be closer to the original as far as blend. This is the best blended modern version of Dolce & Gabbana Pour Homme. So this one for strength, German for strength. Blend goes to France, the French version. And if you want something unique and go with that orange, you could go with this one. But you know what other one has orange? Oh yeah, in the top note, Intenso has orange, and it's lovely. It's probably the third favorite out of the group. UK gets last place. Sorry for you fans that like the UK version. But that is how it is ordered. So, to recap, vintage version. This is a 6-digit model, so this is 2000 and after. 2012 German version is next. Then I like the French version. Then Intenso. And then last, the one from the UK. All right, there you have it, guys. That is my thoughts on this. Please, if you have any questions about Dolce & Gabbana Pour Homme, put down there, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. My recommendation is, if you're going to get this fragrance and you want to enjoy it, if you want closest to the original, you're not going to be disappointed with the version that's from France, and that is the latest version that's readily available right now. I would just make sure you find it from France. There is a cap difference between the French and the UK versions from the original. This is the original. See the cap difference? And the German one has the translucent top, and it's got the original cap. And then this is the French version, this is the UK version. They pretty much look the same. So if you definitely want one from France, you're going, you just got to make sure that it says from France on the box, and then you'll be a-okay. Also, Intenso is made in France, and I would say sample this one. It's a lovely fragrance, but I say sample it just because you might be disappointed with the performance on that one. So there you have it. If you're going to buy a new one and you want to be closest to the original formulation, go with the French version. If you want some strength and last all day and have a little bit more oomph, the German version is pretty darn good, and it is pretty close to the original. If you just can't have nothing but the best, get the original. Go for the Italian version. Just make sure that you're checking what you're buying. All right. See you guys later.